Welcome back to Light Talk, where the paranormal and the supernatural is a part of our everyday life. We want to welcome back Michael Kopf. I am so excited to get going on this show, so I'm not going to delay any further. So let's get started. All right, Michael, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back.
Yay, anytime. You recently just had a book. Well, you're almost gotten 4 books out since last time we spoke. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about the first one. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that is
Yeah,
is that the second one?
this is the first one.
First one.
There it
Oh, yeah,
is.
there it is. Okay, yeah, there it is. Yeah, I've got my copy here. I've even got notes in it. There we go.
Very cool.
And
So, this is the second book.
I need to
I,
get
I'm
that
having
one.
a, I feel like I'm
Got it.
doing a Star Wars intro because they have to be at such a heavy angle, and this is book three.
Nice. Nice. Looking good. Looking good. Yeah,
So,
so
the first book is my paranormal journey, where I share experiences that I've had growing up in the paranormal and just things that I've been fortunate to witness and experience and how they impacted me. So, and with being a podcaster, I share my paranormal podcast that I host and co-host, the origin stories and story behind them. So, you get a glimpse into my paranormal journey, basically. And so I enjoyed writing it, and all the experiences in there are my experiences. I didn't take from other people in this book. So if it's a location you're interested in and you read the book and you're like, want to know more, you can ask me because they're all my experiences, like I said. So I can recall them pretty quickly. And the second book is just my journey into the hidden history and hidden parts of my life that I didn't know about until 3 years ago. And so it's my journey of discovering parts of myself that were hidden or erased from memory that are coming back, and the story behind my esoteric podcast show. So that's a little bonus. And I also added some topics that I view esoteric and why I view them that way. So you get a glimpse a little bit into how my mind looks at things. So I thought that was a fun twist to add to that book. And the third book is my growing up in the metaphysical world. And I take time to explain principles that I learned along the way and how I learned them and how they impact me. But then I know there's some terminology that's used in metaphysics that's not in normal everyday life. So I took a paragraph or two on some of those topics and was like, okay, here's what this means. This is what this term refers to, in my opinion, in my experience. So it's basically you're getting in these 3 books a look into 3 different aspects of my life and how they impact me. And book 4, I'm hoping to publish soon, is just my personal life and what it was like growing up, what it was like being a teenager, what it was like in my 20s, 30s, 40s, what travels did I do, and ancestry, that I got into that I found interesting. So it's a flavor of me. And so the reason they're called The Awakening is it's my journey of discovery in every aspect of my life. So it's like my awakening story. And so I'm excited to have them be in print and people to read them. And my hopes are that people read them and either get excited for the field or question, and they start to open their minds and question things. So that's my books in a nutshell.
No, I like it. It's how many people actually go and write books like about their journeys like this. I mean, you have a different way of writing this book than the typical writer. I like the way you have it. You have like a just this is this part. It's kind of like a journal. It's how you have it. And that's really cool. I like how it's set up and everything is I like it.
Yeah. I tried to write
Yeah.
it as if you were on the journey with me.
Hmm.
And with the paranormal world, I didn't want to use photographs or illustrations because I felt like if I put a picture of a building up, somebody is going to go, "Hey, you're using my photo." And I'm like, it's my photo from the front of the building, and now I got to prove it. And so I thought, there's too many people in the paranormal field that have all the same photos. So I'm going to use words to describe and paint the picture instead of a picture showing it, just so I could at least get the book out and be like in the safety zone. So I may in later versions add new information and maybe add some photos or illustrations, but right now I'm like, yeah, I had that base and it was my first real attempt at writing, and I'm glad though everyone is getting such positive experiences from the writing because I didn't know. I just wrote what I experienced and how it impacted me and tried to make it flow through each process and not make them individual, like, okay, here's point A, here's point B, here's point C. Done.
Yeah. No, I think you did a great job on it. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Explaining each. Yeah. Yeah. I need to get the other three books. So we'll get that going here pretty soon.
Well, funny thing you say about that is because they are a series and they're published as a series. I noticed when I went to look at book three on Amazon that there was the option to buy the book, or you could buy the set of one, two, and three. And I was like, wait, when did sets become an option? I didn't know anything about an option for buying the set. So yeah, and I don't know if when book four comes out and the set's completed, if you go and have already bought a book, if you go to buy the set, if you have to buy duplicates or if it'll say, oh, you already own this one, so here's
The rest
these
of them.
others and you can get all the rest at one time. I don't control the sets. I only control the individual books.
There you go. Well, I'll have to go in and take a peek and see what happens there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be curious to know because I'm blind about it. I just know I say, here's this book. This is the value I place on it, and people buy it. Great. And I hope they're enjoying them. And if, you know, if they want to set, I don't know how that works. I don't have any control over sets. I only can control the individuals
All
to
right.
a point.
All right. Well, so we just need to get on Amazon and check it out.
Yeah.
So
I am very grateful to Amazon for allowing me to publish the books.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Do you have it anywhere else besides Amazon? With this
Actually,
series?
right now, I just have it on Amazon, and next year, amongst maybe doing like a second edition to some of the books with more information or different material added. I am looking at branching into the audiobook, and I've had a lot of people advise me I should audio record the book. And I'm like, I don't know if I could actually sit and read the book and make it sound good and be like really exciting. But they're like, you have a great voice for audio. You should do it. And I'm like, I might, or I have two people that are willing to step up and they're like, I'll read it for you if you want. And I'm like, that might be more interesting. I don't know. I'm got to toy with it because I got to see what's involved too. Because having two dogs, I don't always have the perfect quiet, and so
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't need, the middle of a sentence, bark bark outside, and everyone's like, don't know what he just said, but it's not what's written in the book.
Yeah, well, just test it out, do a reading, do a chapter of it or so, and see how it goes.
Yeah, and I've also thought about branching out and writing some other books outside of the series and just being like, I guess I've kind of got the writer's bug right now. I have all these different book theories in my head and not quite sure how to make them into reality, but that's what I have friends for. That I can write something and they'll help me bring it into reality. So just got to start writing again.
There you go. There you go. You're really enjoying it. I can tell that you just have this, I'm gonna get another one. Yo, oh, this one's coming up. You're so excited about
Yeah,
it.
I am, and it's so weird for me in a way because growing up, everybody always, like would talk to me and they'd be like, you need to write a book. And I'm like, nobody's gonna read a book I write. My story is not that interesting. You're just being nice. And I would shelve it. And then I'd hear again years later, you should write a book. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then I was on a show with an author who just wrote a book and it was a emotional book and I was like, yeah, my story is kind of emotional. I don't want to get into the emotions of it and dig all that up. I'm kind of making peace with it, so I don't want to drudge it up. And he actually said to me, it was quite cathartic. And he said it wasn't as emotional as he thought. So I started writing, and I had a big book of like 15 chapters, I think, and stepped away from it because I started getting in my head about it again, nitpicking it and going, who's going to want to read this chapter? Who's going to want to read that chapter? Why am I forcing people to read any of these chapters? So stepped away. And then in the spring of this year, because I wrote it last year, and then the spring of this year, I was helping a friend with her book. And I was like, you know what? I got that book I wrote. I might as well do something with it. And then I looked at it and I was like, I broke it into four parts, hence the Awakening series. It was originally intended to be one book, so they all were pretty much written. I just needed to go in and have someone edit it and make it sound more fluid than story A, story B, story C. And I was like, yeah, it's got to have some kind of fluidness to it. and a friend volunteered to help me with the editing and doing cover work and illustrations, and we formed a collaboration, and that's the history of the books and in a nutshell. And I gotta say, Selena Ingles is a master of the art. She does great with the editing. She gives it to me and she'll make comments and she'll be like, I'm not sure if this is what you're meaning to say, but if you are, this is the correct way to saying it. If you're not, then just ignore it. And so I'm like, okay, so I get some control over the verbiage, but yeah, a lot of times grammar's not my strong suit, so I appreciate her finding a lot of it, but every once in a while I'll start laughing because I'll take direct quotes from somewhere and I'll say where the quote's coming from, and she's like, there's all these errors in the quote. And I laugh and I go, I can't correct someone's quote because then I'm like borderline, what's the word? Where you copying someone's work but not
Yeah.
giving them credit.
Yeah.
And
I
so
forget
I'm
what that's
like,
called. Yeah.
but I was like, I'm getting too close to that, and so I'm gonna leave it the way they wrote it. And she laughed and goes, "Oh yeah, that is a quote. So yeah, just leave that alone."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like somebody else published it in bad grammar, so I'm gonna leave it in bad grammar.
There you go.
But there's a lot to it that people don't realize when you're doing pen to paper. That's the easy part. It's the after part that is what takes so long for books to come out. It's like you can write a book in a year, but getting it edited, all the illustrations, all the cover work done, that's what takes the longest amount of time. And figuring out how to get it approved by the publishing company is another headache. But I figured it out finally.
You did. You did. And now you have three books out and fourth on the way. You've got it. You're a pro now, Michael.
I wouldn't say pro, but I am a lot more adept than I was when I started.
Yeah, you write some more and you'll get even better and better.
Yeah,
That's how it works. You're on your
yeah.
path.
So I'm curious, since you read the book, what what questions or interests did you have that popped out for you in the book?
I was curious about the Gothic gel. Is that something you can go a little bit more in depth with? Can you give
Sure.
us some more?
So the interesting thing about the Gothic jail was we had stopped there on the afternoon driving towards another location because we all heard about it and we've seen it on TV. So we are like, if we get a chance, it'd be really cool to visit and check it out. And what's, in my opinion, the creepiest thing about the Gothic jail is across the street from the jail is a storefront where you pay to go on a tour for the jail. And inside this place is nothing but dolls of all kinds. And I'm like, it's like one gigantic warehouse room of a doll room. And I'm like, I just get creeped out looking at some of the dolls from the old ages. And so I was like, oh, that kind of creeped me out. And we walked through it before doing the tour. So I was like, great, I'm in a great mindset now. But it was interesting to walk through the jail. So we entered and they start, because we did the tour, they start giving us the tour and the history of the location and what happened. And so we would just slowly work our way up. And what was interesting is on, I think it was the second level, I was in a room with my friends, and all of a sudden I got this chill, like I needed to go to another spot. So I kind of walked over into another cell area, and I could just feel the energy there. It was like a mixture of being scared, being trying to be tough, and
Mm.
trying to survive and taking advantage of other people. So it was like a huge mesh of emotions. And I was like, and it was super intense. And I was like, this is so strange. Well, come to find out, it was the women's cell. So I was like, well, that started to make more sense. The emotions being so high and
Yeah,
everything and such the mix. And it was amazing to see the furniture was missing, but they described how it was, and they're like there was a table that if you got up from the table and took two steps to the right of it, you would be face to face with someone's bunk. That's how small the area was. It's like you could get out of bed and get in the table real quick.
wow.
And they had a window that was the front of this the building so the city could see. And they ended up they laughingly said they had to put curtains up because as the women were getting ready for bed or getting ready for the day, all the guys would stand outside the jail to watch the show. And I was like, really? And then they laughed and they said, well, some of the women started to figure out this was going on and started taking advantage of it and would put on little shows to get like cigarettes or money or
Oh,
other things from they had a system where they would get it to them through other means or through a guard, and it was like wow, you hear about it but you always think that's just Hollywood made up, but it
right.
was real life here in DeRidder. So I was like, wow, that was interesting to hear. And when we were getting ready to go to the next level, I was standing behind a friend and I was looking down the spiral staircase. And she turned around and said to me, what do you want? And I said, what do you mean, what do I want? And
Hmm.
she said, you plucked my shirt. I felt you tug my shirt. You were trying to get my attention. I said, I haven't touched you. Wasn't me. And so then we were like, okay, did you see it? Did you see it? Did you?
All right.
And we were trying to figure out, like, did you do it? Did you do it? No. And so it was like one of those kind of fluke moments where it's like, wow, you know, I never, I've had that happen to me once. And so I was like, I get where you're coming from because that happened to me at a location where something pulled on my shirt and nobody was around. So,
So, did you find out who that person could have been that
not
pulled
really
your shirt?
because we only had so much time with the tour and we weren't on an investigation, so we weren't like guests on an investigation event. Is we literally were just doing a historic tour and they just gave us some of the more spooky kind of stories because we told them we were paranormal investigators. So they were like, okay, so yeah, we can share this part. And the interesting thing is you can only go so high in the jail before they block it off. And the reason is because the next flight up, the landing, is where one of the inmates put a rope around his neck, jumped off, and hung himself,
Mm.
or was hung. I'm not sure if he took his own life or if his life was taken, but they said they found him hanging in there. So something happened and they just block it off because they say the energy up there is real bad and the ground is kind of weaker up there than the other spots. So they're
Wow.
like, okay. But we ended up going outside onto the roof area where you could see down on the city around, and it was kind of interesting to see this Gothic architecture so up close. And it's one of those buildings that if you drove by it, you would never think it was a jail, but
Oh,
it is a
really?
jail. It looks like a old style, like Gothic, almost like a small church maybe, but it's not. It's a jail, or was a jail, and it was quite impressive. And
Mm.
I will say it lets me wanting to go back. Uh, and it is quite a drive to go to DeRidder from my place, but I'm hopeful I'll get some friends together and we may, if not next year, maybe the year after, go back and be like, we want to do a full investigation. We don't want the tour this time. We want to experience and find some answers. So
Yeah.
we'll see if that happens.
Yeah, that would be really interesting to find out.
Yeah, and there is something I will say going walking through jail cells that are no longer in use. There is something humbling about it because you realize this could have been you in here if you had made different choices in your life, and you get to see what conditions were like, and you kind of leave there going, I'm so glad I made the choices that I did. I really don't think I could have survived in that environment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. We have a museum around here, and my son, every time we've been in there, we there's a one little spot that has a single cell, and it's got this guy in there, and he's got a cup of water and a slice of bread and everything in there. And every time my son goes by there, he gets a really off feel. So it's like
Yeah,
really interesting. He gets the feel throughout that museum. And it's like, I haven't had it except for one experience, but that gel, it's something about that one.
yeah. Jails are notorious for being haunted, depending on one, the treatment of the prisoners that were there.
Mm.
Two is its proximity to water. And three is the treatment of the prisoners to themselves amongst their own population. And so
Yeah.
it's really is like a hodgepodge where you are sitting there and are literally in the middle of it trying to go, where's the safe spot? There's just so much going on around. It's like, I know there's got to be a safety area somewhere around here. You just got to take your breath, slowly go through, and sometimes even step outside. I've had to step outside of jail cells because the energy is just so intense in there.
Wow. Wow. That's really crazy. That's really crazy. Should we go on to the Broken Bow
Sure.
Asylum?
So the Broken Bow Asylum is a unique one because my friend who is the owner of it bought it from a haunted house group. And so they're the ones that kind of named it Broken Bow Asylum. And it was kind of like set up to be like a nursing home or rehab center where there's a nurse's station where these two hallways make a T, and it goes a little bit beyond the nurse's station, and then it's the end, and then it goes the other way towards another side of the building. And so it was like this giant U, but because of the entryway they put in, it kind of made it look like more like an E, a capital E, where you have the two long and then the short in the middle.
Oh,
But so the story when I first went there was an area where there was lumber and tools. And they said the workers came to do some work. Something happened. They never really said, but they fled the work site and left the lumber and all their power tools and tools behind. And we're all left to the imagination of what would make you leave very expensive equipment behind. And so we were like, interesting. And when you walked past the spot, because she left the wood where it was and got rid of the tools that were dangerous to be around, but you get it's still pretty well set up to where you get the idea that everything was just abandoned there. And there was an energy there of, yeah, you were being watched. And so I ended up investigating the location probably 5+ times and got a special shirt for it, which was kind of funny because didn't even know that was a thing until I was handed one and was like, wow, cool. But the experiences there really were designed, I think, to test the investigator. The spirits there knew what they were doing, what they needed to do. And the reason I say to test is on one occasion, I was walking into the room while the owner and her friend were doing an experiment. And I was like, okay, and I'm being really quiet. And I turned to leave the room and I get frozen in space because something hit this old restaurant style buffet stand that was in there. I think it was left from the haunted house, honestly, but something hit it, and I was like, I didn't want to turn around because I didn't want to see what was standing there. But at the same time, I didn't want to leave because I was like, I'm a paranormal investigator. This is what we are here for. So I finally turn around and there's nobody there. There's a piece of rubber, like kind of faux bone on the ground. And the owner walks over and goes, this is from a different room. This wasn't even in this room. So we all were sitting there going, okay, so not only did this fly past the owner's ear, because she said she heard the wind of it fly by and hit
hmm.
the thing, but it wasn't even in the room. So it brought it with it and threw it and manifested it in the room. And so I was like, I'm dealing with some hardcore spirits here. This is going to be cool. And if they're doing this here, and on a different occasions, I would have little Halloween eye ping pong balls that look like eyes being
Uh-huh.
thrown as we would turn equipment off, and we're like, ha ha ha, throwing it now since we turned all our stuff off. But I will never forget the one night that this location broke my body cam. And it was like the closest to a police body cam I could find. And I was walking around with it. And ironically, where I'm holding it is it's facing to the left. Well, what happened to me that I'm about to share came from the right. So it's like the camera was pushed to the wrong side. So frustrating.
I
But
bet.
I see these like blue firework sparkles like start walking towards me, and I'm like, this is not normal. So I stop and I'm standing and I'm in the hallway right next to the nurse's station.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden I get this feeling like something is standing right in front of me. So I'm like, yeah, if I back down now, the spirits are just gonna run over me all the time here. I gotta stand my ground. And so I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, a friend of mine who's a medium comes over my shoulder and whispers into my ear, "It's right in front of you." And in my mind, I wanted to say something, and I was like, I was being nice. So I didn't say anything, and I just said, I know. And I was not backing down. And finally, something drew me to a room on the end of the hallway. And so I'm like, okay. I step back, I go turn and go over. And this is the part that even police officers cannot explain. My body cam records in 5 minute intervals. The only way to stop it is to turn it off. I entered this room and this white mass starts approaching me. And again, I stand my ground until it disappears. And I walk out, and everyone's like, "Where have you been?" And I'm like, "Well, I was dealing with the white mass in there." And they're like, "Really? Did you get any photos of it?" I said, "Well, I was running my body cam, so I'll have to see." And I go to leave, and we're outside talking. I get home. My body cam only recorded 23 seconds in the room with the white blob. And how it did was I turned the corner. You see me turn the corner, go in. Then the next image is me leaving the room. It's like it made a fluid like I just went in and walked right out. It took me 23 seconds to do it. And I was like, where's the footage? Why did it stop recording? And my friends that are paranormal investigators, that are police officers, said it doesn't stop recording. Something turned off the camera on your body cam because they do not turn off on their own. And so I can't explain why they can't even explain why only 23 seconds was recorded in that room because the event leading up to that room is 5 minutes. The event after that room is 5 minutes. But in that room, 23 seconds.
So they didn't want to be filmed.
No. And
No.
they turned my body cam off. And after that night, my body cam, I had to have it on a battery pack the whole time to get it to run. It would never turn on its own. I had to constantly plug it in. So I got a new one. And I'm walking down this hallway by the nurse's station because it was the more accessible side. And I'm with my ex-girlfriend at the time, and two of my friends, they were, hanging out in the room across the hall. And this male voice comes over my shoulder. I think it was a male voice, or it might have been a little girl. I'm kind of now thinking it's more of a little girl, but she goes, "What are you doing?" And it was so loud and clear. I turned and I looked and I was like, well, we're getting ready to walk through here and, see, do EVP work and see what's going on over there. There was nobody over my shoulder. The guys were on the other side still. And I walked over to the guys and I said, did you guys just come in here and talk with, and say something and go
Uh,
back in here just to mess with me? And they're like, no. And my ex-girlfriend is like, I heard it. She heard it too. So
mhm.
I was so excited to get this EVP on the body cam. And the body cam has a hum across the entire video. So it is inaudible what she says or what the voice says. And so I was like, oh, my heart sank because I was like,
Oh.
that was such perfect evidence that I couldn't use because everybody is just trying so hard to get that
Right.
hum off to hear the audio, but they never could.
Wow. Just for you to hear. So how did the white blob, how did that appear? I have like a little image in my head of just this white cloud just moving around in the room. How did that appear? Is it that kind of what it was like, or?
Actually, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Is it looked like this white fluid, like globuleous form that had a little bit of sparkles around the edges, but it would just come up close to me and then it would just backed off and disappeared. And I was like, "Oh my God, I don't know what I just witnessed, but I'm like, I'm so glad I made sure the camera was in the right place this time." It was like no footage. Nobody's gonna
No
believe this.
footage.
But I was
What?
like, the fact
Go
that
ahead.
it's only 23 seconds, they're like, something did happen.
Yeah. So what is your feel of what that was? Do you think it might have been an actual spirit in the asylum, or is it somebody that was there to speak with you? Because I'm getting this feel that it was like a spirit for you.
Well, so the first spirit that was the blue sparkles, that was, I want to say, Nick, who was the spirit there who didn't like guys. He more preferred the women investigators that came through and was friendlier with them. And so, yeah, I felt like he was trying to assert himself as the boss of the lay of the land, so to speak. And I was like, I'm just visiting, but you're not my boss. So I'm not giving you the title boss and stood my grounds. I feel like the other could have been a spirit of the land that, or the buildings. The history could have been a patient. But the one time there that always is in the back of my mind too, and I don't talk about it much because I don't have any real proof of it, was I was giving a tour to some ladies to help out the owner, and I was talking about something in this one room, and I'm standing in the doorway, and I'm wearing jeans. And so, if you know anything about guys' jeans, the pockets are pretty tight. You can't just stick your hand in and go, and do whatever.
Hmm.
Well, all of a suddenly, I felt my pocket like get pulled down a little bit, and I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Who's in my pocket?" And come to
Hands
find
up.
out, I think a kid was looking for candy or something in my pocket.
Oh, oh, so
But
maybe
yeah,
next
I
time
was
have some candy. So is that
well. Unfortunately, the owner that this lady was had got it from took back the rights to it and closed it down and was gonna, last I heard, was tearing it down to build a new building. So unfortunately, Broken Bow Asylum is no longer, as far as I know, accessible to people.
But the spirits could still be there even though they build over it,
Oh, they'll
right?
they'll definitely still be there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So you go back after it's built and if it's not already built.
Yeah, it would be interesting to go see what they built there and be like, so, have you guys been having some unusual stuff happening?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, those places seem to be very active, very, very active asylums and hospitals. So you went through like a portal. Can you give some descriptions of how that happened and how you felt during that?
Sure. So, the one we're talking about is my video in Lavaca County Jail, and it was an off night for me because the whole night I was feeling like something was hunting me. I wasn't feeling watched. It was like more than that. It's like I felt like something was pursuing me. So I was on edge and going through the buildings trying to figure out what is coming after me because I wasn't liking the feeling, of being like prey. I was like,
Right.
no, whoever you are, whatever you are, you're not getting the drop on me. Well, I have the ability to detect portals that are naturally formed. And so I can avoid them and I can be like, I can say to people, hey, careful of this portal over here. Well, the team I was with were on one side of the men's jail. I was on the other side, and they were sitting at a table. And so I'm walking through the cell and I hit the doorway between the two cells to make the turn to go out. And the next thing I notice is I'm like, I feel nothing. It's like my entire awareness is gone. I'm like, don't know where, what's going on. I'm just basically feel numb, like nothing. And my eyes are closed, and I'm just like, I just felt almost like literally being put to sleep.
Oh, wow.
Like there was no energy left. There it was like zapped, gone, and everything. And then the next thing I know for me is my shoulder is being tapped, and I literally fell to the floor, and my head hit the metal floor, the steel floor, and I snapped to, and I'm like, what's going on? Why am I on the ground? And they're like, you were not responsive. We don't know what was going on with you. You were not communicating. We could not get your attention. And so I was like, what are you talking about? So they show me the video and they're like talking to me, and I'm saying nothing. I'm just leaning with my head against this door frame that's metal, and I see him gently touch my shoulder and I go crashing down. And so I was like, what in the world just happened? And I
Yeah.
was rushed outside and regrouped, got my, energy back up, and that energy that I felt like that was pursuing me was gone after this point. So it's like whatever it was got what it wanted, and left. And so I
Wow.
talked to a friend in Colorado and I'm telling him about this. And he goes, "You stepped into a portal." I go, "What? I can sense portals." He goes, "No, somebody made this portal and you got stuck in it. That's what happened to you is exactly what they say happens to people who get stuck in a portal." And I was like, "Okay." So he gave me something to help keep me from getting stuck in portals anymore. But I went back and I realized I can sense natural portals, but I can't sense man-made portals. And I started thinking about it and going, paranormal teams have gone through there. What, you know, where did this portal come from? What could have happened? And I was like, okay, somebody did a Ouija board, or somebody opened up space and didn't close it, doing EVP work. And so I was like, this people need to be aware of what's going on when they're doing stuff. And so I put a video out saying, when you're doing work and you're calling in a spirit to talk or interact with, you are opening space for them to come in. You have to close that space when you're done. If you don't, this is left open and anything can come and go. You're creating a dangerous portal, which is what happened to me, getting stuck in it. And so it was like kind of like I'm yelling at them to knock it off because this isn't cool
Oh,
doing this. But at the same time, I'm trying to be the responsible paranormal investigator and going, okay, I'm making y'all aware. This is, I don't care if you've been doing this for 30 years or 3 days. If you're inviting something in, you're opening space. So do not leave this open. We have to close this. It's not fair to the owners. It's not fair to the other spirits there. So please close these when you're done. So this doesn't happen. And then I show the video of what happened to me. So it's like, now that I've got you all geared up and like, yeah, thinking, okay, whatever, let me show you what's going to happen to somebody.
yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
fortunate I had people to get me out of it.
So it was, so you were like on the doorway of it, or did you actually cross over into that portal and got stuck
Oh,
there?
I was in the I stepped into the portal, but my body was left leaning against the metal door frame. So it was either on the ground or maybe in front of the door. So I don't know exactly where it was. And in full disclosure and transparency, I never went back to that location to close it. So I'm hoping it's not still open. I I've I haven't wanted to go back because I don't want to get stuck in it again. So I'm kind of like keeping my distance right now from that location.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just kind of went, and I'm just trying to get a good grasp of how it, so you were feeling just numb. Because I know at one point in February, I was driving and I had like a, I don't know if you would call it out of body or how it all went. I'm still trying to kind of fully figure that one out. But I was like behind me in spirit. I was like an orb behind me, trying to say a single word. I was having a hard time trying to say a single word. So I'm just trying to feel okay, you were just kind of like an orb or you just kind of energy that you felt that once you crossed your soul crossed over, but your body stayed.
So it sounds to me like you're experiencing an out of body experience. that was different from me. For me, it wasn't an out of body experience because I wasn't looking down on myself. It was like something just latched on, drained every ounce of energy I had in a second, and I was just left there.
Okay.
And I had no energy to move. I had no energy to say a word, comprehend what was going on. It's like my entire body just shut down. It's like,
Okay.
so think of it as if I was like an android walking and somebody clicked the off switch. I just literally went limp and just rested in place
Oh,
until I
wow.
snapped back to.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that puts a whole different kind of little spin on that. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
you can see why I wasn't so thrilled with this experience because I'm like, I didn't know I had an off switch. And I'm like, the fact that something found it, I'm like, this is not cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And is there like that possibility of this entity that drained you come home with you? Because I know you do your protection and everything after an
It
investigation.
didn't come home with me. It stayed there. And I always do at the end, whether verbal or through mental intention of stating whoever or whatever is here doesn't have to stay where it is, but it can't go home with me or anybody on my team. So it's like, yeah, you can go walk across the street if you want. You can go to a neighboring town if you want, but you're not getting in my car. You're not getting in their car. You're stuck in this area as long as you're wanting to be here, but you're not coming home. I have a strict, nope, nobody comes home to hang out kind of policy, do all kinds of things. And even when I get home, I'll do incense of Palo Santo and sage to make sure everything stays out.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that would be quite the experience.
Yeah, it was.
That would be crazy. That would be really crazy. Oh, well, that's an hour there, Michael.
Wow,
Yeah. Wow. Went fast, huh?
it did go fast.
Yeah. So I know you signed up for another show, so you'll be coming back.
Yes, on the 22nd.
Yes. All right. So we're gonna continue with this one. Does that sound good?
Yes,
Yeah.
sounds perfect.
We'll continue. And yeah, I'm excited to have you back. So we will see you on the 22nd.
Yes, just in
Yeah.
time for Christmas.
Woo-hoo! Awesome. Awesome. Well, if anyone else out there has a story you would like to share, email me at lighttalk423@gmail.com. And we will talk with everybody next time. Bye.
Bye bye, everyone.